Nigeria is turning into one of the most important refining hubs in the world. For decades, the country exported crude oil but had to import petrol, diesel, and kerosene. That imbalance is changing fast. New private and state backed projects are taking shape, like the new $50 billion free trade zone initiative in Ondo, said to house a giant refinery, the second largest in Nigeria. Backbone Infrastructure Nigeria Limited (BNL) is leading an ambitious, game-changing refinery project in Ondo State's Ilahe area. In a joint venture with the Ondo State government through Ondipa, BNL plans to build a 500,000 barrel per day refinery inside a 1,471 hectare sunshine free trade zone at the Sunshine Industrial Park in Ogboti, Eruna. The initial phase targets completion within 48 months, starting with a 100,000 barrels per day module. At first, the projected cost was $15 billion, but recent reports say BINL has secured over $50 billion financing in partnership with Canadian firm NEFEX Holdings.
The second phase of the deal includes the development of the Sunshine Industrial Park and Free Trade Zone, an initiative set to elevate Ondo's position as an investment destination.
NEFEX brings deep expertise in engineering, infrastructure, and terminals, strengthening the technical backbone of the project. The refinery will not only produce fuels for Nigeria's domestic market, but also supply feedstock for local industries and export refined products abroad. The broader free trade zone plan includes roads, storage tanks, loading bays, terminals, and logistics infrastructure. Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa and local community leaders have expressed strong support, and BNL says a strict governance and CSR framework will guide the development. This is a strategic industrial and economic transformation for Ondo State, creating thousands of jobs, strengthening local capacity, and injecting foreign investment into the region. There are also other refineries poised to expand Nigeria's local refining capacity, led by two major players, Aliko Dangote and Abdul Samad Rabiu, and supported by several modular and gas-based refineries across the country.
The key announcement today is that we're expanding the Dangote refinery. We're announcing it officially. We're expanding the Dangote refinery from 650,000 barrels per day to 1.4 million barrels per day. So upon completion of this will make it the largest refinery in the world ever.
The Dangote Petroleum Refinery in the Lekki Free Zone is already one of the largest single-train refineries in the world, built for $20 billion. Its initial refining capacity is 650,000 barrels per day, and by early 2025, the plant had begun producing diesel, aviation fuel, and other refined products. In a major new move, Dangote announced plans to expand this capacity to around 1.4 to 1.5 million barrels per day. The expansion, if completed, would nearly triple output and make the facility one of the biggest in the world. The plan for expansion came after the company started securing steady crude supplies and completed the initial testing phase. Reports suggest that the expansion will involve building new processing units, storage tanks, and export terminals, while also scaling up petrochemical production. The company has mentioned that it could take about 3 years to complete once financing and regulatory approvals are secured. Funding will likely come through loans and new investments, as Dangote has been in talks with both Nigerian and international investors for partial equity sales. For Nigeria, this expansion is a big deal. It would mean near self-sufficiency in refined petroleum products and open up the potential to export large volumes to other African countries. It could also save the country billions in fuel import costs and stabilize prices. The refinery's success already pushed the government to rethink how it manages domestic fuel supply and local content in the oil sector. BUA Group, led by Abdul Samad Rabiu, is the second major private player entering large-scale refining. The BUA refinery project in Akwa Ibom State has a planned capacity of 200,000 barrels per day. The company aims to produce high-quality Euro V fuels, jet fuel, and other refined products for both domestic use and export. Construction progress has been steady, with completion expected soon. Like Dangote's refinery, the BUA facility will include its own storage and loading terminals, giving it independence from the often congested state infrastructure. Rabiu has said that BUA's entry into refining is part of a broader push to make Nigeria self-reliant in energy. The refinery will help balance supply and demand, create local jobs, and encourage downstream industries like petrochemicals and fertilizers. The presence of two large private refineries marks a new phase for Nigeria's oil industry, moving away from government dependence to private-led industrial capacity. Nigeria's state-owned refineries, Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna, have struggled for years, operating below capacity or remaining idle. But the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has been working on rehabilitation programs for them. The Port Harcourt refinery's first phase of rehabilitation was reported to be near completion, with test runs expected soon. Warri and Kaduna are also undergoing technical audits and partnership reviews. The goal is to bring them back into service through joint ventures with private investors who can provide the technology and management expertise needed to keep them running efficiently. If these plants return to steady production, Nigeria's total refining capacity could cross 2 million barrels per day within a few years when combined with the private refineries. This would position the country as Africa's fuel capital. Ondo State is also working on an industrial corridor that includes plans for a new refinery near the Gateway International Airport and other free trade zones. The state government has been in talks with investors to build a modular refinery that can start small and expand gradually. Such regional projects are important because they shorten the supply chain, reduce transportation costs, and provide fuel directly to local markets. While the big refineries get the headlines, modular refineries are multiplying quietly across the country. These are small plants designed to process between 1,000 and 30,000 barrels per day. The Walter Smith Refinery in Imo State is the most notable example, currently producing about 5,000 barrels per day, with plans to scale up to 50,000. Other operational or developing modular refineries include Edo Refinery, Niger Delta Petroleum, and OPAC Refinery in Delta State. The Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority has issued dozens of licenses for such plants. They are faster to build, require less capital, and can operate closer to oil-producing regions, giving local communities a stake in the oil value chain. Nigeria's refining revolution is also tied to its gas ambitions. The Nigeria LNG plant on Bonny Island is already one of the biggest LNG facilities in the world and is expanding with its Train 7 project. There are also smaller gas processing and floating LNG projects being developed to turn flared gas into usable energy and export products. The federal government is promoting gas as a transition fuel with incentives for investors to develop gas-based industries, LPG refilling hubs, and power generation units. Taken together, all these developments signal a massive shift. For the first time, Nigeria's refining sector is seeing both private and public investment moving in the same direction. If these projects reach full operation, Nigeria could supply most of West and Central Africa with petrol, diesel, and jet fuel within the next decade. That would mark a complete turnaround from being an oil-rich country that couldn't refine its own crude to a self-sufficient energy powerhouse.